Have you ever felt like you're working really hard to try and achieve a certain result, but you can't really break through? Well, you're not alone. But the fact is that the habits and the strategies that you currently have can only get you so far. So today I'm going to be sharing a couple of shifts that you can implement that can potentially help you elevate to get pushed and past those barriers that you currently have. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris, aka JD Analitico, and I'm all about motivation, inspiration, and helping you and others reach their full potential. So if you're ready, let's get it. So you've been able to achieve results, but you haven't really break through to the big results that you're looking for. And here's the thing, the reality is that what has gotten you here is not going to get you to the next iteration of yourself. The habits and the strategies that you've been implementing up to this point is not going to get you to the next version of yourself. So here's what I would recommend as a slight shift is that you have to stop learning for a little while and you have to 100% start executing on everything that you've learned. 100%, you got to be able to start executing on everything that you've learned. Because the reality is that if you don't execute, you're never going to be able to see results. You can read on, you can listen on forever, but until you actually start implementing the things that you are learning, you're not going to be able to see massive transformation or massive results. So as an example for me, I remember when I started learning the piano, I went through a period of 3 to 4 months where it was constant reading books and looking at videos and this and that. But it wasn't until I actually got on a piano and started moving my fingers and trying to understand okay, that is this is a C, this is a C minor. And I started my fingers moving on the piano that something clicked in my head that I don't know how it happens, but it just something clicks. And all of a sudden, as I started implementing what I was learning, my fingers just started gliding on the piano without me even noticing it. They just started gliding. So that's the one shift that I would recommend. You gotta stop learning because you get to a point where it's okay, I've learned as much as I can learn based on my capacity. Now I gotta start executing and I gotta start implementing all these things that I've been researching and reading and listening to and all that stuff. I gotta start executing that so that then I can see results. And if, let's say, the results are not what I want, then what is the change that I have to make so that I can see better results? Because as an example, let's say in health, you can read about health, you can read all those, or let's say, what are the diets that I need to have when I go to the gym and all that. You can get all that knowledge, but until you actually get in the gym and you start implementing the things that you've learned, or at home, you start changing your diet and eating the things that you've read in the books, hey, you should be eating this, you should be drinking this, you should be doing this in the morning, you should be doing this in the afternoon and at night, you should be getting enough rest. Until you actually start doing it and implement it at 100%, you're not gonna be able to see results. So the first shift that I would recommend is that the habits and the strategies that you've implemented up to this point, they got you here because you were consistent with that. But in order for you to be able to get to the next version of yourself, you gotta stop learning for a little while and you gotta take whatever you've learned over the last 3 to 6 months and just go in 100% on that and execute. And if you do that, then you're gonna be able to see massive transformation and you're gonna be able to break through that barrier that's getting in the way. So up until this point, you probably have been working really hard to try and break through to what you're trying to do. But here's the thing, the shift that I recommend that you do is that instead of you working really hard, you have to now work smarter at what it is that you're trying to do. So you have to take a step back and think through what are some of the steps? What are some of the tasks? What are some of the priorities that I really got to tackle every single day on a daily basis that can have the biggest impact on what I'm trying to achieve? Because you can work really hard every single day and see very small results. But if you want to be able to see that impact and you want to break through so that you can see the massive results that you're looking for, you got to be able to just focus all your energy, all your attention on the 1 or 2 tasks that can give you the biggest result. As an example for me, I remember when I was putting together my website and I used to spend hours trying to make sure this thing over here is good, or that this picture over here is good, or that when they click here, it takes them to the right page. It used to take me hours. And it wasn't until I realized man, is this really important? Or is this gonna give me the results that I'm looking for? It wasn't until I stepped back and realized okay, that's not necessarily what's gonna give me the results that I need. What's gonna give me the results is finishing the album. At that time I was creating an album. It's finishing the album, putting it out there on iTunes and Spotify and all that. That's what's going to give me the results that I'm looking for. The website, I can continue to work long term, but right now, I don't need to be tweaking this logo. I don't need to be trying to fix what it's saying here. Like, if it looks good, it looks good, it looks professional, boom, put it out there. But what really is gonna make the difference on what I'm trying to do is I gotta finish this album, put it out there, put it on TuneCore, put it on Spotify, put it on iTunes, so that then people can kind of like take a look at what it is that I'm trying to do. And then now I can continue to work on other things. And if I need to continue to work after I've done that part, if I need to continue to work on the website, then I can do that. But it wasn't until I did that kind of like shift that I was able to kind of like get the impact and the influence that I was looking for through my music. So the second shift that I would recommend is that like you gotta be able to stop just grinding, and you gotta take a minute, step back and be like, okay, what are the things that I really need to do that are gonna have the biggest impact? So after you make that shift of stop learning and executing more, and then you make a concerted effort to make sure that you're focusing on the high impact tasks that you can do on a daily basis, the third recommendation or shift that I think you should do to your habits and the strategies that you're doing every single day is that you have to stop trying to do everything yourself. And you have to start leveraging system processes and things that are already out there that can really help you propel and push you through that barrier. Because the reality is that we can't. Like, you can't do everything yourself. At some point, you're either gonna have a knowledge gap or you're not gonna have the time to be able to do it. So you gotta be able to leverage people that already have the skill set that you need, or the tools and the systems that are gonna be able to help you expand and impact in terms of what you're trying to do. Like, for instance, for me, when I was doing my album, I got to a point where it was like, yes, I like the creation process of creating music and putting it together, but the secondary part of that, which is kind of like mix and mastering that track so that it can get to a level where it can be on the radio, it's like, that's the part that I was like, yeah, I can do it. It was gonna take me some time for me to learn that part, but I don't have the time and the resources to be able to do that right now. So what I did is I leveraged the experience of somebody that I knew that had 30 years experience in the business. And I said, hey, I have this track, it's ready. I'm just gonna send it to them. And they were able to take that track from my knowledge of where I was able to take it, and they were able to take it from here to all the way up here, because they had the experience to be able to do that. Now, could I have taken the time to learn how to mix and master and then be able to do it on my own, all of it on my own? Absolutely. But then it would have taken me a longer time for me to be able to do that. So you gotta be able to stop kind of like having this mindset when you get to that, you're working hard, you're doing everything. At some point you gotta stop and say, hey, okay, what are some of the things that I know I can do, but I can potentially delegate that to somebody else, or I can hire somebody else to do that. That's gonna allow me to stay focused, remember, on the 20% of the things that, the tasks or priorities that are gonna give me the highest impact. It's not that I can't do this, but if you focus on this, I'm gonna get bigger results, versus me focusing on this that's gonna give me results, but it's gonna take time away from the things that I need to do that are gonna give me the biggest impact. So that would be the third recommendation I have in terms of shifting what you're currently doing so that you can see massive success and you can kind of like break through the barrier of where you're at right now. Like, you gotta stop thinking that you have to do everything, and you gotta be able to leverage other people's experiences. You gotta be able to leverage processes and systems that are gonna push you and elevate and allow you to impact on a greater level or on a greater scale. If you made it to the end, thank you. And remember, make sure that you start executing more on the things that you're trying to do. Make sure that you're just not working harder, and make sure that you start working smarter. And the most important thing is make sure that you don't continue to think that you have to do everything yourself, and that you start leveraging the resources that are available out there. With that, if you're really ready to change your life today, make sure that you watch this one here. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it.